What did they do to Ben 10? I hate the animation. Do you mean the art style? This is for babies. Okay, you get it. You don't like the reboot. I wasn't too pleased with it when it was first announced, but guess what? That was over 10 years ago now. It's fine. It's not the Ben 10 you grew up with. It's not the Ben 10 I grew up with either. I'm a 2000s kid, so all I really cared about growing up was Ben 10, Power Rangers and Slam Attacks. But I wanted to go back in time to see what the reboot did towards the end of its run, which was create a couple of specials culminating with Alien Extinction. With Alien Extinction. With Alien Extinction. I'm sick, by the way, hence me sounding like a 14-year-old every now and again. Extinction. But anyway, if you're not keen on the reboot, I actually recommend you stick around for this video. The episode opens with Ben and Grandpa Max roasting marshmallows outside the rust bucket, but something's off. Ben's cousin Gwen is told to currently be in summer school despite her being with them for the summer for the last 4 seasons. Then, a portal opens and Alien X steps out. There's 2 things to note here. The first is that this reboot version of Ben has never encountered Alien X before, and he is the most powerful alien in the entire franchise, minus maybe Atomic X. And number 2 is that this Alien X has 9 Omnitrixes attached to him, and we're about to find out why. Ben turns into Cannonbolt and charges at Alien X, which just results in a complete smackdown. It's also revealed that Alien X knows Grandpa Max, revealing to Ben, "I am your fate," as he rips the Omnitrix from his arm. He attaches it to himself, bringing his total number of Omnitrixes up to 10. He then reopens a portal and walks straight through. Now Ben is still alive, but his arm is severely damaged due to the extraction of the Omnitrix. Then just as Alien X leaves, another portal opens where a doppelganger version of Grandpa Max steps out and somehow fixes Ben's arm, presumably with some plumber tech. Now the thing is, this Grandpa Max doesn't look identical to the reboot one, but actually is more reminiscent of the classic series Grandpa Max, even with a beard and a robotic arm, so maybe alluding to the future Ken 10, Ben 10K Grandpa Max. Ben pleads for his Omnitrix, but Multiverse Max tells him that it's gone. Forever. See, Multiverse Max goes back to his flying rust bucket, which looks identical to the one from the classic series. He then tells his computer that they've once again lost another Omnitrix, but the Ben did survive, then showing a screen of Bens that survived and Bens that didn't. And I don't even want to know what the yellow one means, if I'm being honest. Max then says,
"Anyway, this isn't about revenge anymore. Not while there are still Bens to save and Omnitrixes at stake." As
he looks at a photo of his Ben and Gwen, alluding to the fact that he lost his Ben to Alien X, that very same Alien X. Then the rust bucket gets attacked and Max is forced to ditch the ship, just falling into the multiverse. It's then that we cut to the current iteration of Reboot Ben 10 fighting Zombozo on top of the rust bucket. We see him transform into Shockrock, a Reboot exclusive alien born from Upgrade. They defeat Zombozo and Team Tennyson set off before colliding with Alien X and flipping the rust bucket. As Alien X approaches them, Ben turns into 4 arms. They have a tiny scrap and then quite quickly Ben times out, but then instantly times back in, and is something that even Ben in this universe is questioning. Heat Blast is the second choice, attempting to set the interdimensional god on fire. And once again, the Omnitrix times out, but then times back in, and he just starts cycling through a roster of aliens whilst this is happening. Max and Gwen then come up with a plan, which results in Alien X having an altercation with a truck, which does give them just about enough time to get away. And it's at this point that Multiverse Max returns, but officially in the reboot universe. Ben very quickly turns into Diamond Head, as he does not trust the Max clone. And can I just say, whilst I don't like the design as much as the original, Diamond Head's my guy. Of course, things are uncertain until Max says this:
"The future of the Omniverse is at stake."
Multiverse Max then reveals Alien X's plan, along with what happened to his Ben. That's when we then cut to a flashback where we see 16-year-old Ben in full Omniverse attire, voiced by none other than Yuri Lowenthal. Before I go any further, come on, they did not have to do that. They did not have to go that far. They didn't have to go that hard. Showing us teenage Ben, giving him the Omniverse outfit, and having Yuri Lowenthal come back to voice him. Good job, guys. And believe me, it is not over yet. This is where we also see the beginning of the rivalry between Ben and Multiverse Max, because both want to be the one to take down Alien X. Ben, for the reason of, it's my universe and I want to be the hero, kind of an ego thing, but still. And for Max, it's the fact that he doesn't want more Bens to die. And I feel like, as noble as that is, you also don't have an Omnitrix, mate. So, we then rinse and repeat. Alien X shows up, the rest of the team is whooped, and Ben is once again in a 1v1, but this time he uses Wrath. For those who don't know, in this Reboot universe, Ben does have some teenage aliens as a kid, those being Humongousaur, Jet Ray, Goop, and Wrath. And after Alien X shows him the business, Ben is caught by him. Multiverse Max tries to help out, but this universe's Omnitrix does have a failsafe release in order to save Ben's life. It detaches from Ben's wrist, Alien X puts it right in the centre of his chest, and leaves through another portal. The team are quite helpless at this point. They try to come up with a plan, but they have no way of navigating through the multiverse. Until another portal opens, and someone steps out. To the characters in universe, this person is unknown, but of course to us the fans, this is Chroma Stone, the Crystal Sapien DNA sample from Ben 10 Alien Force. And that's when it happens. Chroma Stone transforms back to Ben Tennyson. Black t-shirt, green jacket, upgraded Omnitrix Ben Tennyson. And what's cool isn't just the green jacket, isn't just the further return of Yuri Lowenthal voicing the character, but it's the use of the Alien Force theme song. Chills. Chills. 8-year-old me is screaming right now, like, what the fuck? Anyway, this version of Ben probably isn't directly tied to Alien Force, but more so, you know how they used to change the futures every time they met Ben 10K? I'd be willing to meet it's one of those split timeline type of deals. We also now start begging the question, is this Alien X a Ben? Or is it just a rogue Crystal Sapien that we're calling Alien X? And if so, are they having to barter with Bellicus and Serena as they go on? Which actually reminds me.
Motion to greet our honored guest and hear him out.
Motion denied.
Listen, please, I'm just here to talk about my Patreon.
Motion carried.
For just £3 a month, you can get early access to all of my videos, some exclusive content that you can only get on Patreon, and you'll even get your name credited at the end of my videos.
How'd you get that?
You just need to click the first link in the description. Anyway, can I please get back to my video now?
Seconded.
Motion carried.
Always makes me nauseous. What happens next is actually incredible world building for the Reboot series, and sort of pays off on something that the fans, the OG fans, were quite annoyed about before. Teen Ben reveals that he is part of the Plumbers, an organisation that Max Tennyson was a big part of in the classic series. But the Max in the Reboot, for the last 5 years, was never a plumber. He had like some knowledge on aliens, and a friend called Phil who was an insane rocket scientist and had all this alien tech, but Max was never a plumber. But as soon as Teen Ben mentions the plumber, Max starts freaking out, doing anything he can to just get Ben to shut the fuck up. And I love that. A lot, actually. It was just a really nice nudge and wink to the fans, just be like, yeah, Max was a plumber all along. Ben even makes fun of the name and says, shouldn't they have been called Alien Force? Damn, they're letting us eat with this special. Teen Ben then reveals that he does have a multiversal travelling device, so Reboot Ben comes up with a plan. Multiverse Max will travel through the multiverse and try and find an unclaimed Omnitrix for Reboot Ben, all while they stay in their dimension trying to lure Alien X back with the upgraded Omnitrix from Teen Ben. So Multiverse Max leaves and the team go to Adrenaland. Now this is the theme park in the Reboot universe that Ben knows inside and out, so they'll have an advantage on things like hiding places and how to set up traps. So they start home aloning the place for Alien X's arrival. I mean, Ben even single-handedly dismantles a roller coaster, or at least a track from it. I mean, damn, okay, rough. Then, shock horror, Alien X returns, and we see Teen Ben become Big Chill. A goated alien that looks gorgeous in this art style, mainly because he looks the exact same, but just in higher quality. Phase 1 of the plan is initiated and Alien X is crushed by a bunch of carnival stalls. Phase 2 is that the roller coaster from earlier is dropped on him, followed by an entire dropper ride being launched at him. Surprise, surprise, Alien X deflects them all. And then the tone changes. Alien X uses his telekinesis to grab Reboot Ben and brings him closer, spinning him, twisting him, and preparing to tear him apart. This looks like it's gonna be the end of Reboot Ben. Until Multiverse Max return with another doppelganger of Teen Ben, this time with the Ultimatrix. The Ultimate Alien theme can be heard in the background, and yes, the Ultimatrix is on upside down, and no, I don't know why, but what a moment. UA Ben becomes Amphibian and AF Ben becomes Chromastone. Now this is the third time that we've seen AF Ben as Chromastone, and whilst Amphibian is an Ultimate Alien exclusive alien, I'm hoping that we at least get to see some, you know, Ultimate Aliens. We'll see. They brought with Alien X before Reboot Ben says they need more firepower. He jumps through the portal with Multiverse Max just as both Teen Bens are caught. Their Omnitrix and Ultimatrix are about to be stolen before we hear,
"Let them go."
and we cut to a portal lined with Multiverse Max, Reboot Ben, Omniverse Ben, Gwen 10, and classic Ben Tennyson. Oh, let's just break this down for a moment. The Omniverse Ben could be considered to be the No Watch Ben because of the white and green jacket, but with the whole universe rebuilding thing and all the stuff with Alien X, and just how that show was in general, I don't know what timeline he's meant to be plucked from, but he is Omniverse Ben with the final rendition of the Omnitrix from the classic series. Gwen 10 does now have her classic look as opposed to the reboot look, however, she is still voiced by Monstera Tarandes, which I hope I pronounced right, I'm so sorry. I'd have loved it if Megan Smith had reprised her role for Gwen, and of course along with Paul Eiding as Grandpa Max, because they're the actors I love, but that does not in any way discredit the current voice actors of the show. And of course, Ben 10 Classic. He is voiced by Tara Strong because she voices the current version of Reboot Ben. He's given his green cargos, his white and black t-shirt, and the classic Omnitrix. Big win for the fandom in this episode. Alien X confronts the Bens. With Reboot Ben now having a new Omnitrix, he leads them into battle.
Prepare for Alien Extinction.
Alien X attacks Reboot Ben, but Alien Force Ben turns into Big Chill and saves him. Gwen 10 and Ultimate Alien Ben then turn into Amphibian again, but then surprisingly Ripjaws. Now Ripjaws isn't an alien that the Reboot Ben ever had, but it's also not the most popular alien either. This version of Ripjaws does have a water tank on her back so she can survive on land, but it's still like a very underpowered alien to choose in this scenario. Classic Ben then turns into Heat Blast, bringing back an homage to the classic design of Heat Blast from the original series. And Omniverse Ben turns into, guess who? Blocks. Now the fanbase generally isn't into Blocks that much, but I think this transformation for the special was perfect. Blocks wasn't actually used that much in Omniverse, but was undoubtedly the poster boy of the series. So bringing him back was not only fitting in that sense, but also just another nudge wink of like, haha, remember the meme of Blocks? Then nobody likes him. Yeah, I respect it. Alien X is then, as usual, undefeated. Classic Ben then even tells Reboot Gwen they could use some Lucky Girl magic, something that obviously never existed in the reboot. I see you, man of action. I see you. Earlier in the episode as well, they even alluded to Gwen's future with Kevin. They're just dangling that carrot in front of us for the entire thing, aren't they? After Alien X overpowers them, the Tennysons retreat to a nearby cave, and they try and come up with a bit of a game plan. Ben then complains about needing his Omnitrix back, but hang on. Didn't I just say that he got it back? Okay, so in some shots he just randomly has the Omnitrix on his wrist again, and then in some shots he doesn't. Okay. I mean, clearly that is just a continuity error, but that's fried my brain. So Reboot Ben doesn't have his Omnitrix back yet, and they still need to retrieve it specifically from Alien X. That's where we are. So back in the cave, they come up with a plan to all hit Alien X at once rather than individually. And the hope is with all that power, Ben's Omnitrix should be retrievable. Multiverse Max gives Max and Gwen some weapons and the Tennysons transform. It is a very cool scene, but the only complaint I have is just the lack of variety in the aliens. Alien Force Ben is Chromastone again, Ultimate Alien Ben is Amphibian again, Omniverse Ben is Blocks again, and so on and so forth. And I get it, time, money, you know, reusing the same aliens is going to be easier, but I think it's insane having the Ultimatrix in an episode and not using an Ultimate Alien. Just give us like Ultimate Swampfire, do you know what I mean? Or Ultimate Humongousaur, because Ben has Humongousaur, and he could be like, hey, Humongousaur, and then he can Ultimate, and then they'd be like, oh shit, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? I'm going too hard. You're a grown man and this is a kid's show. Yep, I'm aware. That said, we do get a cool Western standoff style scene between the Tennysons and Alien X. One by one they start attacking before all coming together, and then Gwen 10 does end up retrieving Reboot Ben's Omnitrix. And then he turns into Heat Blast.
You couldn't have picked a different alien? What can I say? Heat Blast is a classic. Yeah, he is, isn't he?
fair enough. You asked my question and you answered it. Yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. There's then this really wholesome moment where Ultimate Alien Ben gets knocked back and Multiverse Max chases after him. Ben then questions this and he's like, we're not each other's relatives. Why did you do that? Why did you come check on me? Which is where Max says that it doesn't matter. And he sees his grandkids in all of them. And this is why, in no matter what universe, Max Tennyson is the GOAT. They then begin to start removing Omnitrixes one by one. They enact on their plan at firing all at once, and it actually works. He's caught, and Alien X powers down, revealing himself to in fact be a version of Ben 10, or Ben 10K for that matter, but presumably without the master control. He reveals that the reason he started on this path was because he was fighting Vilgax, and Max and Gwen tried to step in, resulting in their deaths. In that moment, Ben lost his mind and tried to destroy the Omnitrix in order to kill Vilgax and himself. But of course, most Omnitrixes have the failsafe where they will always try to keep Ben or the user alive, and that's what it did by turning him into Alien X, starting him off on this very journey that we've just concluded. Multiverse Max says that this version of Ben will be spending a lot of time in the Null Void, but once that time is up, he'll happily be the grandfather that Ben didn't have. Remember what I said earlier, Max Tennyson is the GOAT. Evil Ben is taken away and the Multiverse Tennysons say their goodbye, even bringing back the smell you later line. The episode ends with the Reboot family hugging as we pan up to the sky. And that's amore. Okay, here's the deal. If I had to choose Classic Ben 10 or Reboot Ben 10, I'm choosing Classic Ben 10. It's a no-brainer for me, someone who's in their 20s and grew up alongside Classic Ben 10. But whilst I haven't seen the full reboot, this episode alone shows that Man of Action still cared about Ben 10 and that the reboot wasn't just a massive fuck you to the classic series. Yeah, I'd have liked the continuity of Ben Prime, along with hearing voices such as Paul Hiding, but I think this episode alone shows what the reboot is capable of. And upon doing some more research for this video, I actually found out that Greg Sipes actually voices Stinkfly, which, if you didn't know, he voiced Kevin Levin from Alien Force through to Omniverse, and Yuri Lowenthal was even brought back to voice Vilgax in earlier episodes. Man of Action care about Ben 10. They just wanted to tell more stories with a younger Ben. In addition to that, I don't think many kids of the late 2010s would have liked the tone or the art style of classic Ben 10. And yeah, that is kinda sad to say, but I think it's just the truth. And maybe I'm speaking through a nostalgia filter. Maybe I'm seeing these characters that I know and love return, and that's what's making me appreciate the reboot in places where I otherwise wouldn't have. But the classic series isn't going anywhere. It's on a variety of streaming services and DVDs and stuff like that for you to binge whenever you want. And in the event that there is somebody commenting asking which one of these is Ben 10 Prime, I honestly don't think any of them are. First of all, none of them really seem to know what Alien X is or what Celestial Sapiens are, nor do any of them actually turn into Alien X. And I know sometimes they need the keys, but Ultimate Alien and Omniverse Ben at minimum would have him. And I know he's a pain in the ass to use, which is a ridiculous understatement. It seems to me that they've never interacted with Alien X before. I mean, Alien Force Ben even says that's not what we call him. I do really hope that someday we get a continuation of Ben 10 Prime, even if it's in the sort of style of 5 years later by the Ink Tank or just a Ben 10K story. It'd be cool, but I think this 40-minute special alone is enough for me to realise, and hopefully some other people to realise, that the reboot could be worth giving it a go, just for the sake of having more Ben 10 content in your life. Or don't. To be fair, it's your choice. Did you like this video? Do you want me to do more Ben 10 content? If you do, I'll reach out and I'll do some more. Huge thank you and shout out to Sarah Jane, our Super Dino Mode Patreon.